According to the standards of morality, was George Eliot a scandalous woman? Let's dig out the fact in this video. Hello and Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to my channel, and I am Marian. Today we are going to talk about the Queen of Victorian age, George Eliot. Marian Evans, later to be famous as George Eliot, was born on 22nd November 1819 at Arbury Farm. The youngest daughter in the family, she was deeply influenced by her father. Her childhood impressions and experiences were never forgotten. She quite often felt insecure and unhappy, for her plain looks were constantly contrasted with her pretty sister, Christiana. She showered her love and affection on her brother, Isaac. The woman behind George Eliot is Marian Evans. She was not as beautiful as the standard of beauty set in Victorian society. She was quite sensitive and intelligent since her childhood. Thirst for knowledge and book reading led her to access to Arbury Hall Library, where she tried to quench her thirst for knowledge. Her early education was mainly obtained from observing nature and from extensive reading. She was deeply influenced by Walter Scott. As she grew older, George Eliot began to question everything happening around, especially her thoughts about religion started to perplex her more and more. Her family was religious, but she was different from her family. In 1836, her formal education at school came to an end when her mother died and she had to housekeep for her father. She had a religious fervor right from an early age, as I have told you earlier that she belonged to a religious family, and even when she discarded Christianity, she clung to the ethical conceptions of God, duty, responsibility, and man's destiny. Her mother was a strong Methodist and her father a devout churchman. In 1841, on moving to Coventry, Marian Evans' mental horizons widened a great deal more. Here she met several intellectuals in various fields of knowledge. Slowly, she developed skepticism and discarded the old beliefs. This led to a great spiritual conflict as well as open conflict with her father. Her instinct to be intellectual and logical and to question everything led her to be friends with the free intellectuals like Charles and Carberry, who introduced her to new ideas about society, religion, and politics. And from here, she began to see religion from a new perspective. She even translated a controversial German book which called The Life of Christ, argued that Christ was a real person, a human being made of flesh and bones like us. He was not a god. And this was a tumultuous idea in such a society where morality had great importance. This idea of her attracted severe criticism from everywhere. People thought her to be a person having devilish ideas, a disciple of devil, maybe. Some critics called this book as a book vomited out of the hell, but our dear George Eliot was strong enough to bear all such spears of criticism. And then in 1849, after her father's death, Marian Evans went on a tour of Europe. Returning in 1850, she felt lonely and idle. She met John Chapman, a younger publisher, and was easily persuaded to become assistant editor of the Westminster Review. Her position brought her into contact with various distinguished men and women, including Herbert Spencer, Carlyle, Emerson, and Mrs. Gaskell. She also met George Henry Lewes, one of the best drama critics of the age. He was already married but separated from his wife, whom he could not divorce under certain conditions of the existing Victorian laws. A mutual attraction developed between Marian Evans and George Lewes, for both had similar interests. After much serious thinking, Marian began to live with Lewes as his mistress. As a result, she was criticized by her family and society for living in sin. But Lewes and Marian found profound happiness in each other. They even started calling each other husband and wife without marrying. This relationship continued despite hatred and criticism received from the society. Even Miss Eliot's brother stopped talking to her, but interestingly enough, this illegitimate and sinful relationship gave a boost and boom to Miss Evans. As I have told you earlier, that it was quite difficult for a woman to have a literary career as a female writer in Victorian society. Ultimately, Marian Evans had to adapt a male pen name. George was the name of her lover, definitely. So she took the name George from there, and Eliot in those days was a common name. Secondly, she wanted to hide her earlier failures as writer behind this name. She did not want her writings to be judged in the context of a female writer. Another interesting fact about Miss Evans is that in those days, Charles Dickens, another Victorian name, after reading her novels, found the traces of her female thoughts expressed in her novels. He suspected the identity of writer of the books like Adam Bede, Middlemarch, and other novels. So he started writing some encouraging letters to Miss Evans that her identity must not become a hindrance in her literary exposure. It was under Lewes's influence that Marian Evans became the novelist George Eliot. With the death of Lewes in 1878, the literary career of George Eliot came to an end. In 1859, her first novel came, Adam Bede, which was an instant success, and who became the die-hard fan of Eliot after reading this novel? Oh yes, it was Queen Victoria. Interestingly enough, Queen Victoria was also born the same year when George Eliot was born. Queen Victoria enjoyed this novel so much that she commissioned paintings, scenes from the book, stuck them on the wall. Queen read out many parts of the novel to Prince Albert too. We can surmise the intelligence of George Eliot by this fact that she coined many new words like pop music, lunchtime, and browser, which are still in use. In 1880, she married J.W. Cross, 20 years her junior, though a great friend for a long time. It is another interesting fact of George Eliot's life that at the age of 60, she married again with a man who was 20 years younger than her. Oh, I'm sorry, she did not marry again. In fact, she married only once, married to J.W. Cross, because with George Lewes she led her life without marrying him. hence a sinful life, according to the Christian belief and standards of Victorian morality. A very dramatic thing happened while this newly married couple was on their honeymoon. Mr. John Cross jumped into the Grand Canal Venus. Although his life was rescued, but it is still a mystery that why did he jump into the river? And finally, George Eliot died the same year at Chelsea. But Miss Eliot was not allowed to be buried there because of her unconventional and skeptical ideas about religion, especially God and Christ. Most probably she had abandoned Christianity. This could also be a reason. But now, almost 40 years ago, finally she got a memorial stone in Westminster Abbey, Poets' Corner. George Eliot's contribution to the genre of novel is definitely undeniable. She was ahead of her time. She was modern in many ways. The deep psychological insight into her character's mind make them lifelike and real one, not caricatures running on the pages of the piece of paper. With the end of Marian Evans' life, here comes to an end my video too. I hope you would have learned a lot from this video. So please keep subscribing to my channel, keep waiting for my videos, and thanks for being with Marian for such a long time. And if you want to enjoy the full story of Adam Bede, you may visit my channel and enjoy the story of Adam Bede. Thank you so much.